For decades, humanity has gazed up at the stars in search not only of planets and signals but for the inexplicable, those rare cosmic moments that seem to rebel against the laws of nature. Now, the James Webb Space Telescope may have uncovered precisely that. What began as a routine observation of the third interstellar object ever documented in our solar system, known as 3 Atlas, has evolved into something far stranger, far darker, and infinitely more significant. Because somewhere deep within the cold void beyond Mars, the telescope detected something it was never meant to see. Not just light, artificial light. A radiance that behaves like no comet or asteroid ever could, with a pattern of illumination that defies all known principles of reflection and refraction. Today, astronomers and astrophysicists around the world are haunted by one question that chills them to the core: what exactly is 3 Atlas? 3 Atlas was first detected as a faint glimmer on the outer edge of the solar system, following a trajectory no local body could match. Its movement made it clear it was interstellar, born outside the sun's gravitational reach and flung across the galaxy by forces still unknown, now silently drifting through our cosmic neighborhood. Initially, scientists regarded it as a mere curiosity, much like its predecessors Oumuamua and Borisov. But even in the earliest images, something about it was disturbingly different. Unlike other interstellar travelers, 3 Atlas was remarkably bright in ways that made no sense. Its luminosity didn't align with its estimated size or material composition. The light it reflected shimmered with an unnatural consistency, neither fading nor flaring as typical comets do when ice sublimates. It appeared steady, almost as though powered from within. Global telescopes turned their eyes toward it, and soon, the James Webb Space Telescope, with its unmatched ability to capture the faintest traces of infrared light, was brought in to decode the mystery. What it revealed would change everything. Positioned 1,000,000 miles from Earth at the Lagrange point, the James Webb Telescope was built to see the unseen, to pierce through the blinding glow of stars and unveil what hides in cosmic shadows. Its gaze upon 3 Atlas was expected to clarify the anomaly, but instead, it deepened it. The telescope's instruments detected a focused thermal emission not from sunlight but from within the object itself. Ordinarily, a comet shines because the sun's rays reflect off the ice and dust grains. Yet 3 Atlas showed a heat pattern emanating from its core. This was not reflected light, it was emitted energy. The thermal mapping revealed a distribution no natural object had ever displayed. Even more chilling, it pulsed faintly and irregularly, as if it followed some sort of rhythm, some sort of cycle too deliberate to be random. Scientists at NASA and the European Space Agency proposed every conceivable theory: radioactive decay, friction from subsurface activity, even exotic isotopes. But each hypothesis crumbled under scrutiny. The evidence pointed toward only one remaining explanation, the one no one dared to write down. 3 Atlas might be powered. As data from Webb, Hubble, and terrestrial observatories came pouring in, a portrait of the object started to take shape, and it looked like nothing anyone had ever seen. Its trajectory seemed too deliberate, as if it were choosing its route, making subtle course corrections through gravitational fields. The rotation was unnaturally constant, showing none of the chaotic tumbling typical of drifting bodies. And perhaps most unsettling, it revealed no cometary tail, even when exposed to solar radiation, suggesting a protective shell or casing shielding it from heat. Then came the most astonishing finding: the albedo, or surface reflectivity, was measured in certain regions to be near perfect, approaching that of polished metal. Not rock. Not ice. Metal. The implications hit the scientific world like a shockwave. If the surface was metallic, structured, and emitting controlled energy, this could no longer be dismissed as a natural object. Humankind was now observing technology. Suddenly, the term probe started circulating in hushed tones within research halls. Beacon, craft, even artifact, words once confined to conspiracy circles were now appearing in encrypted institutional emails. The most damning clue wasn't the heat or trajectory, it was the light. Photometric analysis revealed something unprecedented. Light from 3 Atlas fell within a narrow band of wavelengths. This wasn't some diffuse, natural reflection of sunlight. This was a controlled emission, a deliberate output of specific frequencies. That's what we do with LEDs, laser communication systems, and spacecraft beacons. If that wasn't enough, the emitted band corresponded to frequencies used commonly for communication and guidance here on Earth. The intensity also shifted slightly in response to solar radiation, as if some onboard mechanism was automatically adjusting. The flickering wasn't random, it pulsed in intermittent rhythms. When astronomers analyzed the pattern, the results were inconclusive but deeply suggestive. To some experts, the pulses seemed to hint at a binary-like sequence. To others, they could represent an energy source cycling through phases. In either case, one fact was undeniable: 3 Atlas was not passive. It was doing something. A joint research team from MIT and Harvard conducted a deeper analysis on the electromagnetic frequencies emitted by the object. At first, the signals seemed chaotic, random noise scattered across the spectrum. But when they applied Fourier transforms to extract cyclical patterns, something extraordinary appeared. Hidden beneath the static was a repeating pulse, precise, structured, and impossible to attribute to chance. It wasn't human technology, yet it bore the clear mark of intentional encoding. Some speculated it was a beacon, a broadcast directed toward unknown recipients. Others theorized it was telemetry, constant data transmission returning to its origin. But one observation chilled researchers most: the message never changed. Since the first Webb detection, it repeated with perfect consistency. It wasn't talking to us. It was speaking to someone, or something, else. News of the discovery began to spread rapidly through classified channels at NASA and the world's defense agencies. A leaked, confidential report showed that officials were already coordinating with international institutions on whether the object posed a threat. Some scientists maintained that it was harmless, perhaps even an ancient probe on a programmed route through the star systems. Others were less certain. If it's transmitting, one section of the report asked, then who is receiving? And more chillingly, if it's here by design, why now? The report even floated the chilling possibility that 3 Atlas wasn't simply observing, that it may, in fact, be surveying planetary alignments, electromagnetic activity, or civilizations themselves. The suggestion triggered panic behind closed doors. Because if this object was not alone, then whatever sent it might still be coming. Further studies of its luminosity led to an astonishing theory: 3 Atlas might not just emit energy, it might be harvesting it. The fluctuation in its light output was in rhythm with its proximity to the sun, but there wasn't any accompanying chemical reaction. The pattern indicated the presence of a solar collection mechanism, a photonic absorption array hidden beneath its outer layer. A group of theorists proposed that the surrounding dust cloud served both as camouflage and energy-absorbing medium. If so, that would make it a self-sustaining interstellar craft, one with the capability of refueling while it drifted from star to star. It fit the theoretical model of a long-range autonomous probe. It could be dormant for hundreds of years and then be triggered on entering a system of interest. If our solar system had triggered that, then the message had already been received. As the international space community scrambled for answers, one truth became impossible to ignore: humanity was utterly unprepared. Despite decades of speculation about extraterrestrial contact, our political, scientific, and philosophical frameworks were not prepared for this reality. No official statements were made, but leaked documents from agencies in Japan, France, and Brazil all hinted at a common conclusion: that 3 Atlas might represent not an anomaly but the first true encounter in slow motion. And unlike the grand, cinematic versions of contact, this was not a dramatic landing or a bright beam from the sky. There was only light, data, silence. The Webb continues observing it daily, but each new finding spawns more questions. If this is contact, it's happening on their terms, not ours. Quiet, distant, and deeply unsettling. Because perhaps what we're witnessing isn't an invitation but surveillance. Then, just when scientists thought 3 Atlas had stabilized, something unprecedented occurred. Its luminosity suddenly surged, rising almost 40% in less than 2 minutes before again leveling off. No natural mechanism could explain it. There was no collision, no solar flare interaction, no disintegration. It was as if a switch had been flipped. The heat signature altered, 2, suggesting that internal systems, whatever they were, had powered on. Theorists feared the object had entered an active phase, perhaps triggered by either its proximity to our star or by the fact that we were observing it. If that flare was intentional, it was a signal meant to be seen. Shortly after that event, orbital calculations revealed another anomaly. The object's path had shifted not randomly, but slightly, deliberately. Gravity alone couldn't explain it, nor could solar radiation pressure. The alteration was controlled. Even more concerning was where it now headed closer to the plane of Earth's orbit. For the first time, it seemed to be maneuvering. Some called it coincidence, others saw the move for what it was, a course correction. If 3 Atlas was capable of navigation, it wasn't just an ancient relic, it was a vessel, active and deliberate. Spectroscopic analysis returned more disturbing clues. Scientists found traces of reflective alloys, rare earths, and compounds unknown to human chemistry. Some matched theoretical quantum materials that could only exist under extreme magnetic or quantum conditions. This suggested either staggering age, predating civilization itself, or manufacture by a species far beyond our technological reach. Whatever it was, the message was clear: the object was not natural. Governments often operate in silence. Networks were encrypted, observatory data restricted, and their satellite systems quietly recalibrated. A leaked document from an international defense group described 3 Atlas as potentially a scout. Its rotation, durability, and trajectory showed it might be designed for observation, perhaps reconnaissance. If it was scouting, what was it searching for? And more importantly, what might follow? Desperate for answers, a team at the SETI Institute took a risk. They broadcast a directed radio message toward 3 Atlas, encoded with mathematics, elemental data, and basic visuals that represented humanity. Days passed. Then, exactly 72 hours post-transmission, a faint narrowband pulse was detected from known space. It wasn't an echo, it had been processed and sent back. The timing was just too perfect to be accidental. Something had heard us. Something had answered. In the days that followed, telescopes began to fail in concert. Webb's instruments flickered, Hubble's gyroscopes recorded phantom movements, and ground observatories suffered simultaneous data freezes whenever focused on 3 Atlas. A classified European analysis suggested the unthinkable: the object wasn't just signaling, it was jamming us, selectively controlling what we could see. That meant we weren't truly observing it, it was allowing itself to be observed. And then came silence. Public data streams ceased, government agencies issued vague recalibration notices, and major journals retracted coverage. What had begun as science was now state secrecy. It was a last coalition of astronomers who, to find meaning beyond language, turned to pattern recognition. What they found was terrifying. 3 Atlas's path, when mapped against planetary orbits, followed a Fibonacci spiral, a harmony of mathematics found in nature and in coded communication. Its pulses, flares, and course changes corresponded to prime number sequences. Such perfection could not be an act of chance. The object wasn't just traveling through behavior, it was communicating a message in motion. And so, as the dust of confusion settles, one truth remains unshakable: 3 Atlas was never just a rock. From its metallic glow to its calculated path, every fragment of data points to a single reality: we have not been alone for a very long time. The James Webb Telescope, built to study the birth of galaxies, may have instead glimpsed something ancient staring back. Something deliberate. Watching. The agencies remained silent, the data locked away, and the world left with the question no one dares to answer: what happens next? Was 3 Atlas merely passing through, or is it the first of many an envoy signaling the beginning of something greater? Whatever the truth, one fact is undeniable. It came. It saw. It responded. And somewhere, in the dark beyond the stars, something vast may now be turning its gaze toward us. The countdown, perhaps, has already begun. The universe has spoken not in words, but in silence. And now, we are the observed.